When we take a look at mid-90s horror, zombies would probably be the last thing that would come to mind. We've seemingly seen the end of Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, and Michael Myers would be out of the game for a few years, but it feels as though there was something missing. In the midst of the 1990s, zombie films were still around, but they weren't quite at the popularity they once held so dearly during the George Romero era. However, 1996 was the year that shot zombies straight into the stratosphere and repopularized them to a mainstream audience. That year we saw not one, but two series come to life, Resident Evil and today's subject of interest, A House of the Dead. With an international release the following year in 1997, The House of the Dead proved to be an absolute addictive hit and would go on to get sequels, prequels, and two loosely adapted films in the coming years. This brings us to 2022, where we have been graced with a remake of the original game. The remake features quality of life improvements such as new HD graphics as expected, difficulty options, and local multiplayer. You have two single-player campaigns in the form of Classic and Horde mode. Horde mode is where I think you get the most out of the experience since it throws more zombies at you and provides a greater challenge, which is why I opted to use this for footage on the normal difficulty. In this game's universe, the government agency known as AMS is in charge of criminal investigations and bioterroristic threats, basically this world's FBI. In 1998, a mad scientist known as Dr. Curian, the head of the DNA Bioreactor Corporation, or DBR, has been tampering with monstrous experiments in the form of zombies and other creatures to wreak hell upon the world. It's up to Agents Thomas, Rogan, and Agent G to shoot up the zombies and stop Curian once and for all. On top of all this, one of Curian's experiments abducts Agent Rogan's girlfriend, Sophie, effectively making this a sort of rescue mission. Each level is broken up into chapters, which give it a more cinematic feel along with the cutscenes. For this review, I opted to play the Switch version as you can use the Joy-Con's gyroscope feature, which gives it the more authentic arcade-style feel of the original game. The other multi-platform versions have gyroscope options as well, but it just doesn't feel the same when the Joy-Cons can be held like a gun. A game with only 4 levels, the remake, much like the original, delivers a quick but fun and addictive arcade experience. In a fixed first-person perspective, it's an on-rails shooter from beginning to end where endless amounts of creatures come at you full force. It's simple. You see them coming at the screen, you blast their rotten asses straight to hell. Anytime you shoot the zombies and kill them, it adds up to your score. On your travels, you'll come across scientists who you can rescue for additional points and health packs. That is, if you're successful at stopping the zombies beforehand, unlike me where I kept accidentally killing the poor bastards. Your total score is tallied up by the end of each chapter, and depending on how well you did, you could be rewarded with extra lives and more continue tokens. Much like the classic version, you're given a set amount of continues, and once you use those up and you die, you are bounced back to the beginning of the game. However, for a cost of 5,000 points, you can keep giving yourself more continues when you get a game over. The Horde mode is more effective in this situation, as if you aren't the best at the game like me, you can rack up tons of points and have plenty to keep spending on continues. Each stage features hidden weapons you can find by destroying parts of the environment and alternate paths that can be accessed by shooting switches or opening doors, meaning that each time you play you could have a slightly different experience than the last. And the bosses are just absolute Frankenstein creations, which I adore. Before almost every battle, the game tells you the weak point to go after on the body in order to win. Our first encounter is with the Chariot, a humanoid-like being with armor and a big axe. Go after the small opening on his chest and he'll soon be reduced to flesh where you can shoot off his skin in an absolute gory fashion. Sophie is seemingly injured from the Chariot monster, and now you really begin to realize how much of a bastard Dr. Curian is. Stage 2's boss is the Hanged Man, a gargoyle-like creature that sends little zombie bats at you and you gotta nail him in the chest. Towards the end of chapter 3, Curian is impressed on how far we made it, but then summons the Hermit to kill us, a giant mutant spider whose head you must shoot while it shoots web balls. This moves us on to the 4th stage where we have a rematch with the Chariot and Hanged Man and make our way to Curian, who unleashes the Magician, his ultimate creation. After Curian orders him around, the Magician kills him and now it's the final boss. This time you aren't told the location of the weak point. With enough shooting, you realize that it's the fleshy parts of his body that must be shot, after which he blows up and Dr. Curian's reign of terror is finally over. There are 3 different endings depending on your score and they go as follows. If you obtained a score of under 62,000 points with the last digit of your score not equal to 0, you get the neutral ending. If you do the same, but your score ends with a 0, then you get the bad ending where Sophie becomes a zombie. If you score over 62,000 points, you get the proper ending with Sophie making it out alive. After you beat the game, you can feel free to check out the gallery where you can read monster bios and check your achievements you've unlocked. I feel you can get the most fun experience from the multiplayer mode. You can either play cooperatively or competitively for points. Special thanks to Dad for helping me with this one. The controls are being finicky for the most part. Whether that was an issue with the Switch version or my Joy-Cons, I have no idea, but we got through the majority of the game up until the middle of stage 3. The House of the Dead remake is a great reintroduction to a franchise once left behind, but resurrected by Sega to give fans a new take on a fun, non-stop action arcade gorefest. I'll see y'all in hell, House of the Dead Slayers. Have a happy Halloween.